Hello and welcome to another episode of Between the Covers. Lovely to see you. Please do tap the screen, show us some love, let us know where you're watching from, and if you find this of value and worth, please do share this out. So hello to those on Facebook, IGTV, LinkedIn and YouTube. Lovely to see you as you're coming in. Please do say hello, tap the screen, show us some love. So my name is Danni Blechner. I am an author, book journey mentor, founder of a company called Conscious Dreams Publishing. We work with authors from all over the world to help them to get their powerful messages and stories out there in the form of professional books. I'm absolutely passionate about working with unseen, unheard authors who have powerful messages and stories to share with the world so they can educate, inspire, and empower for generations to come. Behind me on the bookshelf, you can't see them now, are just some, hey Jay, hey Ronnie, are just some of the 120 books that we've published over the last 5 to 6 years. I set this up really accidentally and organically. I've always wanted to write. I published my first book in 2014. I wrote my first book age 10, which I've still got with me, actually glued together with a bit of paper. Nice to see you as well. And when I published my first book in 2014, I had no intention of setting up a publishing company. I wanted to go the traditional route. I faced a lot of rejection. It was very hard to get an agent. They were asking for a lot of different things, such as marketing plans. And at this point, I didn't know anything about social media. And so I researched how to set up a publishing company. I researched extensively. I found the right people to help me to typeset, edit, design my book, got it together, and it did well. What can I say? It got onto multiple platforms. It did get onto a bestseller list, beat Steve Harvey's Think Like a Man, Act Like a Lady. And from there, I had lots of people asking me how I did it. And I found myself helping people as a labor of love. Yes, please do book me. If you're watching via Instagram, you can book me via the link in my bio. I offer free 30-minute consultations. So I was helping people to publish their books and I saw they were doing really well. And then I decided to turn it into a business, and I haven't looked back since, because people just keep on coming. There's so many people that want to publish books and have a story to tell, and they're not being heard. Speaking of stories, this show is about showcasing authors, whether they're traditionally published through ourselves, or whether they've self-published, as well as experts in the industry. So we're going to be sticking with the topic of storytelling. So I'm interviewing a very special lady called Catherine Nikkel from Toronto. This is the very first time I'm actually speaking with her. We've been friends on Facebook for a while. Who is Catherine? First of all, she is a storyteller, ghostwriter, content creator, and speaker who helps you to create mindful content and stories that inspire your customers to think and act differently. Now, I love that pitch. It's so clear in terms of what she does. So as I said, we've never met, but when I ran my children's storytelling workshop in August last year, she actually offered to sponsor some of the children to have free spaces. And that's only through seeing what I'm doing and being passionate about storytelling and knowing me via Facebook. And I always reward and remember kindness. And it's such a beautiful thing to do that I really want to share what she does, share her and what she does with you. A little bit more about Catherine. She has a solid background in social work, a heart-wrenching personal success story, and a reputation for saying things better than her clients can say themselves. She's the go-to content developer for CEOs, entrepreneurs, and influencers. Catherine is a Huffington Post Contributor, 3-time nominee for the Women of Influence Awards, and thought leader for international brands. Not only that, she's the author of 2 books, the Lightbulb Moments Journal, and host of the Lightbulb League community, so 1 book, which guides readers and members to experience clarity and use their voice to make an impact. Who would like to meet Catherine? Doesn't she sound awesome? I think she sounds awesome. Please do give us some hearts, show us some love, share this out. I'm inviting Catherine into the IG Live as we speak. So Catherine, I have, if you could just, there you go. We've got the hang of this. Coming into StreamYard right now and coming into the chat. How are you doing, Catherine?
I'm amazing. Thank you again for having me.
No problem. I think we need to turn the sound down somewhere. Is it me? There you go. Okay, fantastic. Lovely to see you finally. I'm sure one day we'll meet in the flesh. So we connected really because I was doing a storytelling workshop, and you are a storyteller and ghostwriter. Tell us, first of all, what does storytelling mean to you, and why is it important?
Oh, gosh. I just find everybody has a story, regardless of if it's, rags to riches or testimony or whatever the case is that I learned so much through social work of how many voices are unheard, and really sharing your story just became something I was super passionate about that translated really well to what I do now. So really just helping people get their story out there and helping people have their voice heard and creating an impact as a result of that.
Sounds like we've got very similar whys, and definitely we've connected through a passion for storytelling. So you said that you're a storyteller and ghostwriter, content creator. Can you tell us what those things are, first of all, for those who've never heard of content creator or content creation or ghostwriter even, and how you got into it?
Oh, gosh. So ghostwriting I'll start with, because everyone's kind of unsure about what that means, but it really means me creating content as someone else. So using their voice, them being able to kind of sit back and let the content roll, and whether it be books or blogs or, oh gosh, emails, sales pages, all the things, just using my voice to bring their voice out. So really it's creating content for people that they put their name on.
Fantastic. I mean, that's really interesting because hello, Faye. And if anyone has any questions, please do. This is an interactive show, so feel free to throw them up. Questions, comments to Catherine. That would be great. There's a little bit of feedback. Is that on Facebook, Faye? And is it bad? Okay. If you can, just let me know what is the sound like on Facebook, because Faye's saying it's not great. If you're watching on IG Live, just give us a 1 if the sound is good, and 2 if the sound needs a bit of a check. Oh, only on Catherine. Okay. Catherine, do you have your earphones in?
I do.
In IG Live? Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it, Faye? Let me know. I'm going to lead into the next question. I think when people think of storytelling or ghostwriting, they tend to think of, books, telling a story through your book. But like you say, there's so many different mediums to, tell a story, whether it's through an email or a blog or a post. So tell us a little bit about that. How do you sort of begin to find the thread of, someone's voice or their story?
I mean, the biggest thing is that we're creating stories through moments and experiences and memories every single day. And a lot of times we get caught up in the experiences, which is amazing, but we don't realize that something as simple as our trip to the grocery store or a stranger we met on the street or whatever the case is really you can create great stories out of that. And those are the stories that are relatable. And, I love being in the relationship marketing space, if you will, that we're creating relationships with people, and we do that through stories. I mean, stories have been around forever. I mean, I often use a reference as far as caveman sitting around, and that we know that those stories are so powerful, and it's what connects people. It's how we connected, so I think that just being ourselves and getting our voice out there can really help inspire, change, impact someone's life.
Amazing. Thank you. What makes a good story? Would you say like good stories are made up of like a specific ingredients, for example?
Vulnerability makes up a great story. Obviously words like authenticity and transparency. The main thing is you want to create stories that are relatable to other people. And a lot of times it's not those big, enormous, catastrophic stories. It's often in what we do every single day.
Moving on to sort of like content creation, I know we've touched on it a bit. For those who just don't have a clue, never heard of content creation, what is content creation and how is it different to copywriting, and do you do copywriting?
Very similar. I find copywriting has a different intention behind it. You're writing copy typically for lead generation or sales, where not to say that content creation isn't, but it's really working sort of in that grassroots level with people and helping people get to know you a little bit better.
Okay, lovely. And what sort of clients do you work with? I know you said CEOs, entrepreneurs.
Yeah, the bulk is entrepreneurs, a lot of online, digital, that's really the basis for a lot of blog and email content that I do. Books have been anything from entrepreneurs, CEOs, small business owners, people with just incredible stories to share, and still have a full-time job, for example, and really want to get their story out there. So really, it's across the board, which is amazing.
Because then you get a wide range of diverse stories, then, I guess, isn't it?
Exactly.
And can I ask you, do you have like one that you prefer over the other? So is it ghostwriting books, or is it more sort of content creation, or is it depends how you feel?
I've been very fortunate with the clients I work with. Some of it, as you want to be a little bit picky sometimes too, especially when you're jumping into someone's voice. So I do love doing books, autobiographies for sure. Part of that brings me back into the social work space of being able to interview people through that and that type of thing. But I love all content creation, really. As long as there's a storytelling thread in there, we're good to go.
Brilliant. And I was going to say, in terms of, because I speak with authors all the time, and we very much are we offer obviously editing services, manuscript report services. Hey, nice to see you, Solomon. But we're very much about the nuts and bolts of publishing, the creation of a book. So people always ask, do you know any ghostwriters? So what tips would you give to people with powerful stories who just don't have a clue about where to start and are maybe looking for a ghostwriter? What are some of the first things they should do to get started?
I always suggest just start writing or using voice memo. I find a lot of clients I work with work a lot better in the world of voice memos. We're often easier to tell our story than that block that we get from taking it out of our head or our mouth and putting it on paper. So undertaking a book obviously is a big deal. So I really just encourage people, just start getting, it doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to be chronological. Just start dumping the emotion, the lesson, the feeling, the everything, the details. And then that's really where a ghostwriter can come in and really put it together, have it make sense, and create some impact. So starting out, voice notes and notes.
It's so interesting you say that. So the very first person I worked with, Janine Cummings, actually, a good friend of mine, she started off by doing voice notes. I had never heard of that. I've never thought about writing a book, because I love writing. You know what I mean? I write a lot better than I speak. I think so. And the idea of, remembering your story and doing it through voice notes, I couldn't quite connect it, but a lot of people do. It's really interesting. I think everyone has a different way of, telling their story or organizing themselves in that way, I think. So there's a question here from J Ben. Hey, is there a stigma attached to ghostwriting? Do people think that is only for those who can't write themselves? Great question.
I think it's a great question. And I don't know if there's a stigma quite yet, because the world of ghostwriting is still so unknown. I even think of when I travel internationally and, customs says, oh, what's a ghostwriter? Do you write music? That a lot of people are really stuck on that. And having said that, we don't typically broadcast if a book has been ghostwritten. So there's a lot of books out there that weren't written by the authors, but it doesn't change that it's their story. So
have you ever ghostwritten a book, and because obviously you don't get the credit for it, but so you get paid for it and you know that it's you. Do you ever write something and you're so proud of it that you part of you's a bit like, oh, I want people to know it's me? Or what's that like? I've got no idea. How's that feel?
I have no issue with it at all. And I think a big part of that is coming from social work, is that I spent 15 years in that field working with, a variety of youth specifically, and we don't take credit for the progress or success that they do. So I found that really being able to detach, if you will, in the world of ghostwriting, sure, we write great stuff, but, it's really for the client.
Yeah, I love that. Can you tell me, what are the 5, let's say top 3 mistakes that people might make when they are writing? We can say telling their story, but if you can tell us from a book perspective as well as content creation, copywriting.
The first is not believing that their story is enough. A big part of that when we're working with clients is that they overlook the minor details, but in fact, those are the ones that are often the most powerful. Details are so key. And if we think about, I always suggest to people, think of a book that you read. And if it caused you to gasp or to laugh or to cry, or it's because it's those details. And I think that it's so overlooked because we're just looking at that. We're looking at the climax where it's really building up to that and the afterfall. So really encourage people to really think macro about it instead of getting super micro with this is the end goal or this is the climax, is really digging into those details. And again, that's why I suggest voice notes, because I don't know about you, but there's a few places I always have ideas, and it's driving or in the shower. And, we're not
using voice notes in the shower.
Well, you could, if that's your thing. But I always think that voice notes are just so easy. And the reality is we live in a world that everybody carries a phone. So it's when those moments strike, just even if your voice note is 30 seconds long, 10 seconds long, it's a great way to really just get those details. So it wasn't really the top 3 mistakes, but the biggest thing is believing that your story is enough and making sure that you're not overlooking the small details.
I think that's really important. I think, like you say, a lot of people think, oh, I haven't got enough of a story, or I have to have had something major happen to me, or I have to have had a major achievement or a major breakdown, or, in order to really have a story. But like you say, the details are really, really important. So they're really key, those things. Thank you. Another question here from Jay. She says, one from Rochelle. So Jay says, I sometimes see books with a writer listed, for example, current book by Marcus Rashford. So they must have had an agreement whereby the ghostwriter could be listed. So that's something I would say. How do make a story into a movie? Okay. How do you make so you want a film adaptation? Do you mean? So to turn a book into a story, for example, into a film. Is that something you deal with?
Nope, that would be something that I would probably seek out someone who's in that field, right? I like to stay in my lane.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times there's tons of collaborative pieces. I work with a videographer, for example, who I refer clients to or whatever. So really, I would encourage someone to, if you already have your story in a book format or something or other, manuscript at least, then, checking in with screenwriters, because obviously the difference between writing a book and a screenplay of some sort is a different world.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Author Darren Moxham, hello, another author in the house. We are talking about the art of storytelling and the importance of sharing your story, whether that be through blogs, copywriting, posts, social media, and obviously through your books. I'm speaking with the lovely Catherine Nikkel, who is live with us from Toronto. You're in, isn't it?
Yes.
Live in Toronto. She is a storyteller, ghostwriter, content creator, and speaker as well. I'm speaking about the value of using your story through your content. A lot of people talk about repurposing content. Is that something you do? Do you get clients coming to you and they say, right, because I'm thinking about me now, here's 10 videos I've done. Can you help me share my story, or can you help me repurpose this into something else? Do you get that often? How do you manage
I do.
that?
I get it a lot, especially from people that have a ton of content out there, and it's a matter of just sort of distributing it on different mediums. Actually, one of the first little free mini courses I put out was how to repurpose your content in 5 minutes a day, because there was a lot of people that had, blog content. How do I make it little and, space it out, and use a lot of my resources in there. So yes, repurposing content is so brilliant. If you're a Facebook user, Facebook memories are the best place for repurposing content.
Oh, yes.
And there's just so many platforms that we can't possibly be an expert on all of them. But it doesn't mean that our voice shouldn't be heard on all of them. So yes, repurposing content is a very, very brilliant thing to do. And you can do it, in only a few minutes a day.
It's so important, isn't it? Like you said, someone can have a really long blog and think, well, I've only got this one blog. What am I going to do with it? And you could do so many different things in different mediums and break it down. It's a really good tip, actually. You can create a marketing plan for the year. So if you're watching authors and you've written a really long blog, or even your book, you can repurpose your book into posts. Okay.
Absolutely.
I think your community is such a valuable community for people, especially authors, who want to know how to repurpose their content, who maybe want to know how they can share their story through social media, because I come across a lot of authors who, are brilliant writers. They love the process of writing a book, but when it comes to selling that book through social media or content, copywriting or writing posts, sometimes I see authors have just got, buy my book and then an Amazon link or something. I'm like, no, you've got to take people on the journey. You've got to take them on a story to want to even know about what you're offering to start with. So how can people connect with you in your community? And what would be the first step for them in terms of getting in contact with you?
Yeah, so I do offer free consultation similar to what you do, and I just, it's something I think we love to do, right? So definitely through my website, nikkel.com, and there's a contact form, a little bit more about what I do on there, and people are absolutely welcome to reach out, book a consult call, or something new I launched a couple months ago now was that I started finding that a lot of the consults that I was doing is that people had time to create the content. They just weren't entirely sure what to do. So I do have a 4-week program that I work with people with access to Voxer and really just helping them create better content. So that's something new. And it's really about mindful media. It's really something that I've dove into. Maybe it's COVID that made me do it, is just be a lot more introspective and really helping people work through it as well. Because not everybody wants a ghostwriter, but everybody wants great content. So I really wanted to be able to help stretch people a little bit and give them some good storytelling along the way. But definitely my website has all that information.
Perfect. I'll put the website in the comments. It's also in the post as well. If you're watching via IG Live, I've obviously tagged Catherine Nikkel. Please do follow her right now. Awesome content there. I'm sure you've got your website in your bio, haven't you?
I do.
You can click on, don't do it now, I want you to watch the rest of the interview, but click on the link in her bio and you can contact Catherine there. I know that you have a Facebook group as well. Can you tell us a bit about your Facebook community?
I do. So I actually have 2 Facebook communities. One is specific to storytelling. It's called the Storytellers Cafe, and it's just, for the most part, daily tips, question and answers, things like that for people that are looking to create more stories within their content and more importantly, profitable stories. I mean, I think, we're in business at the end of the day, and really helping people not just share their story, but create impact through that, be it for other people and also in their business. And then, I have a mindset community as well, where there's a lot of bridge between the storytelling and the mindset, and a lot of that is just belief. And that's the Lightbulb League, which stemmed from when we published the Lightbulb Moments Journal. Oh gosh, almost a year ago now.
Oh, tell us about the Lightbulb. So we've got a question here. Ronnie says, how long does? But you just need to finish the question there, I think, so we know what the question is. Hey, Lily. So tell us a bit about your book, the Lightbulb Journal.
The Lightbulb Moments Journal. So I started working with a community of people on working on their mindset, and really just started realizing that I'm so passionate about journaling, and maybe it's because I like to write. And I think people have this misconception as far as, journaling being like a dear diary, and it doesn't need to be that. Some of our best ideas come out of just writing. But a lot of people we found just didn't know where to start. So the Lightbulb Moments Journal, the idea is you're going to create clarity and have those light bulb moments to, create, design your own life. And it's an accumulation of 170 some odd pages of different journal prompts that really take you through how to get your thoughts onto paper, and really just prompting you anything from, what makes you happy. I mean, it's really the simplest things. And that's where the journal idea came from, is really just listening to the community and giving them what they were asking for.
I love this. I think that's a fantastic tool as well. And not just for authors, for everybody really, to get the mind going, and to also just by means of expression. So often we kind of go through our data. A lot of people can't remember what they did yesterday, you know, so to be able to reflect and take that time out to acknowledge where you were today, what you've gone through, the little things you've seen, the things you smell. It helps you to appreciate life a lot more. If you could put all this information in the stream once we come off, and if you're watching via the replay, those links will be there. I put the link to Catherine Nikkel's website in there. So anything to do with your books, what you're offering, just pop it in the comments. That would be fantastic. How long does it take to write a book? So we're not speaking about that necessarily today, but in regards to it, my short answer would be it's very different for different people. I would never say, I'm not one of these book mentors that say, you know, write a book in 90 days or write a book in. It's not something that should be rushed. Okay, if you're an entrepreneur and you're writing something, you've already got lots of content, like Catherine's saying. Maybe you've got 10 videos which make up 10 chapters for your book. You've already got a lot of content there that you can repurpose. And if you want your book out at a certain time, then certainly I'm sure if you have the time, you can write it within 90 days. If you're writing your life story, I think it's a very personal thing. I don't know if you find this, Catherine. You know, it's very much a healing journey, especially if you've gone through a lot. So I always say, don't push yourself if it doesn't feel right. If you need time to reflect and take time away from your book, do that. Every single individual is different. You'll find your own rhythm. My first book took me, I think, 2 years to write, but a lot of that was doing research. So essentially, I would say 6 months of that was writing. I'm writing a young adult book that, to be honest, I've been writing for 10 years on and off, with like 6-year gap maybe. Every single person is different. There's no set rule. I don't know what you would say in regards to that, Catherine.
If we have a client coming to us ready to write a book with content, you know, typically we can say we turn around things, you know, 45, 60 days sometimes. But if someone's starting from scratch, and you made such a great point, is a lot of personal stories are healing journeys too. And we've definitely worked with some heavy topics. And sometimes most times they take a lot longer, because you're right, people need a break to heal through that. And especially with personal stories, that you probably find this too, is a lot of it can be triggering, and sometimes you need to work through those things before you can bring that book to life. But so, like you said, it really depends on the story and the person and how committed someone is to getting it out as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point you make. I always say as well to authors that there's a difference between writing because you need to get your story out and you need to have your story heard, even if it's just their paper hearing your story or you expressing your story. Sometimes it's a cathartic healing journey, and not everything you write needs to be seen. Not everything you write needs to be a book or be seen by the public. And then there are people who want to share their story because they're writing from an empowered place. They're writing from a perspective of having a very clear message and a why. This is what I've gone through. This is the message that I have, and this is how and why I want to connect with people. Do you find this as well in your journey, that some people actually aren't ready to write a book, but they just need to journal?
Yes, absolutely. And like you said, sometimes it's just the paper that needs to hear the story. And a lot of times that's where the healing is.
Perfect. Okay, so to finish off, let's just check, see if we've got any questions. How does one get an agent? Lots of book questions today. Are you writing a book there, Ronnie? I think you might want to book a consultation with me. If you're thinking about writing a book, you can book a free 30-minute consultation with myself. You'd obviously need to have your book written to have an agent. Just very quickly, you'd need a query letter. I can go into detail about what a query letter is. First 3 chapters often they ask for. I would recommend getting the Writers and Artists Yearbook. Then you can search for list of agents. Make sure that you're applying to agents who are looking for authors who write your genre. There's no point in submitting, you know, your children's fiction to a crime thriller agent, you know. So yeah, just research is what I'd say. But book a free 30-minute consultation, and you know, if you need your book ghostwritten, contact Katherine as well. So Katherine, just to round up, what would you say to somebody who has a powerful story and message and why, but doesn't believe in themselves and maybe doesn't feel like their story is going to be impactful enough, and maybe they're giving up and just thinking, oh, someone else will do it? What would you say to them?
I would encourage them not to give up. I would encourage them to dig a little deeper and find that belief, because everyone has a powerful story. And you know, I shared something the other day online that said, you know, sometimes our story is us sharing our story could unlock someone else's prison. And we don't actually know what other people are going to.
Can you say that one more time?
I'm probably messing up the quote, but it's along the lines of everybody has a story to share, and us sharing it could unlock someone else's prison.
I love that. Go on, sorry.
No, that's fine. It's really finding that belief, and a lot of that belief will come through that healing. I encourage journaling so much, whether it be the Lightbulb Moments Journal or just an empty, you know, blank piece of paper, that just believing that your story is enough, because someone does need to hear it. And it's possible it's someone that you don't even know. I mean, most of the connections that, you know, we've made are people that we would maybe not have met otherwise. I mean, you're in the UK and I'm in Toronto, and we're, you know, hanging out right now. I mean, you never know how your journey is going to inspire someone else.
It's so true as well. And you never know who's watching, and you may never know who you've impacted. You know, as an author, I get people saying, oh yeah, this really helped me with this, or I really enjoyed that aspect. But there are so many people who read your book that you have no idea about, or maybe they've seen a post or they've watched your video and been touched by it and got a message from it. Maybe it's inspired them to take action in something that they have been thinking about or pondering about for years. And you may never know, you know. That's an exciting thing in itself. You just don't know who you're going to impact.
Absolutely. And that's all the more reason to share it.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Katherine. You have been amazing to speak with. I'm looking forward to working with you more. And if you are watching, if you're an author, if you're not an author, if you're an entrepreneur, if you simply have a powerful story, do connect with Katherine. She has a really good community and great ideas in regards to how you can really get your story out and repurpose that valuable content that you already have. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next Wednesday, 7 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. EST. I'm so used to saying that. Now I'm just starting to think 2 p.m. EST, where I'll be interviewing the awesome and amazing Leah Bailey, who has now published 2 books with us. I don't know why I can't get my head around the title. I do this every time. I'm so sorry. Between Foresight and Hindsight, and Chasing Apollo. Her book launch is going to be on the 26th of September. It's our first in-person event since before lockdown. I don't know if we can, this will be exciting. It's going to be in a cellar bar. It's a poetry book. Please do come down. If you go on my Instagram, the link is in the bio, as well as my Facebook page. We also have an amazing book launch happening tomorrow, published by, what am I talking about? Hey, Faye. Faye's the head of events. She's going to be there at our first event post-lockdown. We're really looking forward to it. We're going to have fun. Tomorrow is an online book launch. She is our 3-time author, Nadia Wong. She has written Your Life, Your Legacy, talking about stories, Katherine. My Life, My Legacy, and her new book, which is in my other room, I'm so sorry, is called The Key to a Happier Me, online book launch. If you go into my link on my bio, again, you'll find it, and also on my social media. Have a beautiful evening. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. I have been Danni Blechner, speaking with the awesome and amazing
Katherine. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you for all you do as well. You know, I thank you so much again for sponsoring the children to do the online storytelling course. It really meant a lot. And it's just been an honor to speak with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye.